Hello and welcome to another video. This is the fourth episode of the story, where Naruto's journey through life after his battle at the Valley of the End reveals what it truly means to be strong in a world filled with shinobi, conspiracy, and the concepts of good and evil. Please support us by liking and subscribing. Let's just get started. Surprisingly, Sasuke led the way back to Konoha at Naruto's request. Overriding Lee and Sakura's protests, Naruto explained that Sasuke was extremely unstable. Naruto didn't enjoy the prospect of baring his back to his old friend, in case Sasuke decided suddenly that he didn't want to return to Konoha. It was a possibility that could not be discounted, if last night's meal was anything to go by. Hinata had made her special stew again and it tasted just as delicious as before. Sasuke was surprised at the sensation. He explained that meals with Orochimaru were extremely brief and governed by taciturn silence and bland, tasteless food. When they sat down around the fire, Naruto was still unconscious. Hinata placed him in her lap as she sat down to eat, not wanting to let Naruto out of her sight. As she ate, she noticed Naruto's nose twitch. Then, without warning, Naruto sat up abruptly, a hand reaching around to grab his blade Makai. His hand did not close on Makai. It didn't even close on something that would have made Hinata faint with embarrassment. Naruto's hand swiftly collided with the front edge of Hinata's bowl of stew. It flung itself forward gleefully to land with a wet splat on Naruto's head. Stew dripped from his hair onto his forehead. Realizing what he had just done and what he had been doing before, he reached behind his head to Hinata's head. Shocked and barely holding in her mirth, Hinata sat as Naruto wiped some stew from her lips. He brought his fingers to his own mouth and licked them thoughtfully. He said. Hinata-chan's stew, plus the taste of Hinata-chan can't say I'm not happy. Then he noticed that Sakura had stuffed her fist in her mouth, Lee was eating his wrist bandages, and Itachi was hiding in his cowled cloak. Even Sasuke looked to be holding back a laugh. Naruto grinned, taking the bowl from his head and offering it to the rest of his friends. Geez, where are my manners? Stew, anyone? And the forest trembled with the force of their laughing. Naruto laughed the hardest in between cleaning the stew from his shirt and getting Hinata and himself bowls. However, that evening, when everyone was bunking down, Sasuke had approached his brother at the edge of the encampment. Their conversation swiftly degenerated into Sasuke threatening to rip Itachi's heart out if what he had written in the report was false. Naruto had to ask Lee to put Sasuke in a sleeper hold until the Uchiha could struggle no longer against the strength of the fuzzy-browed taijutsu master. Grumbling, Sasuke had wordlessly assumed the night watch for the rest of the evening. Naruto outlined their formation for the trip back to Konoha, and no one complained, save for Lee and Sakura. However, the trip proved uneventful, especially when compared to the previous few days' antics. Outwardly, Naruto was glad for the reprieve, but secretly he was quivering with anticipation for the meeting he would demand with the Hyuga elders. He hoped to Kami-sama that he could win the support of Hayashi and Neji. Hyuga elders held their positions honestly as the most powerful Hyuga in the two families, not counting the head of the household. Hey Baka Kitsune, what do you know about the Hyuga? Naruto thought to the demon lord. No more than you do. I had very little encounters with them compared to the times I met with the Uchiha or fought with the Uzumaki. The Kyubi grumbled. However, I do recommend you parley with words before you attack them physically. They are, from what I have heard, very powerful fighters. While individually they are no match for you, they have a great advantage in numbers and can force many branch members to fight with them or face death. I have an idea for how to handle that little problem, Naruto thought smugly. I just have to get Neji alone and convince him to try it out first. Naruto was forced to halt his pondering as he stopped himself from crashing into Sasuke. Looking at the Uchiha as to why he stopped so suddenly, Sharingan eyes simply flicked ahead. Naruto followed his gaze to see the gates of Konoha not a kilometer away. Oh, Naruto said as the others congregated around them. We'll take it at a jog from here. Line abreast, and keep your hands where anyone who wants to can see them, Naruto advised. As they set out, Hinata smiled as she felt Naruto's hand sneak its way into hers, entwining their fingers together. Tsunade gazed out the window longingly towards the Konoha gate. It had been almost a week since Naruto and his team had left on their mission. She returned her attention to the mountain of paperwork that occupied her desk and sighed. Swanda-sama, you can't go outside and play until you've finished your homework, Shizun said delightedly as she helped Tsunade sort through the documents. Tsunade glared at her. Yes, oh mother who isn't even half my age. Shizun just laughed, then stopped abruptly. Do you sense that? The attendant asked quickly. Tsunade stared at her, puzzled, then stood up quickly. I haven't felt this many massive chakra signatures since Jiraiya, Orochimaru, Sarutobi-sensei, and I were all in one room together. Shizun nodded. I think they're back. And I think they've brought a few friends with them. Tsunade nodded. Let's hope you are correct, she said darkly. Naruto stopped few feet from entering Konoha again. The rest of the group stopped as well. They weren't happy. Naruto, you baka, why are we stopping? Sakura said exasperatedly. I'm tired and hungry. Naruto, the fire of youth burns within me, but I must agree with Sakura-chan. Lee stated tiredly. We've traveled very far today, and not all of us have assimilated demons into our chakra systems. Naruto simply grinned. Just hang for a few more seconds. The welcoming committee is coming. Sasuke tensed at his end of the line. Itachi did the same. No, Sasuke-san, Itachi-san, I do not think you need to be worried, Hinata said soothingly. Tsunade-sama is very kind. Naruto. You better have a good explanation for this, a loud voice screeched, booming across the hills and forests of the Fire Country. Sasuke looked at Hinata, sheer incredulity dripping from his face. Hinata had the grace to look down. Well, most of the time, she offered. Naruto shook his head. Never, he supplied, squeezing his girlfriend's shoulder. He took a few steps forward as the Godame Hokage and Shizun landed on the ground in front of them. Uchiha Itachi. I didn't recognize your chakra signature. It has been far too long. I take it you are returning for good, this time? Tsunade blurted out, while Shizun blushed. Yes, I have come home. Thank you for your understanding. However, I am also here because of my brother, Sasuke. He too wishes to return to Konoha and learn the truth about that night many years ago. Itachi replied politely, and Shizun blushed again. Naruto looked at the attendant curiously. Does she have a thing for Itachi? Are all ninja interested singles? He thought, laughing inwardly. Tsunade was nodding. Yes, I suspected as much when Naruto showed me the mission reports that you, Sasuke, would return. I won't waste any time with reinitiating the two of you then until Sasuke has confronted the Hyuga on this manner. Would you like me to accompany your team to the compound? Before Naruto could reply, Itachi shook his head. No, I do not think that would be wise. However, if you were to shadow us and be on hand in case the situation becomes violent, I would greatly appreciate it. I hardly wish for my first day back to Konoha to be marked by bloodshed. Naruto glared at Itachi, who grinned mockingly at him. Naruto, just because I was sent on a very long mission doesn't mean I was stripped of all rank here at Konoha. I still retain the position of captain of Ambu. Naruto nodded. Makes sense, I suppose. Lead the way, Itachi-senpai. Hinata and Sakura giggled, though they stopped when Tsunade added, Lee and Sakura, I would like for you two to accompany me to my office where you two will represent your team in a debriefing session. But Tsunade sure, I want to go with Naruto. He'll need our Sakura began, but Tsunade cut her off. Help? Sakura, Itachi, Naruto, and Sasuke are enough to destroy this entire village with less than one casualty. Hinata is going because this directly involves her clan. You too, aside from your connections to Naruto and Sasuke, will complicate matters if you are present. I will see you in my office ASAP. That is all. Tsunade finished, and she and Shizen poofed away. Sakura scowled. I still think we should be allowed to go, don't you, Lee? She asked desperately. Lee? She said, looking around. Lee was happily snoring against the gate post. Sakura went over and began shaking him furiously. Lee-san. Were you even listening? She yelled. Over Lee's protests, Sasuke leaned over to Naruto to whisper, she hasn't changed, has she? He asked quietly. Nah. If anything, she's become even more violent, Naruto whispered confidentially. Sasuke nodded. Come on Naruto, Sasuke, Hinata. Let's go pay the Hyuga a visit. Itachi said suddenly. Itachi knew in his heart that he had lied through his teeth. He knew that today would end in bloodshed. However, he was partially honest. Blood would be spilled, but he would not start it, and nor would Sasuke. The Hyuga would be shown justice. Hyuga Hayashi was not a cowardly man. He was one of the most powerful ninja of Konoha. He was excused from active duty because of the duties he possessed as clan head. Publicly. He quickly established with the Sandaime, the Yondaime, and now the Godaime that he would happily take S-class scouting and assassination missions. Each Hokage eagerly made use of his special brand of getting the job done with very little mess to clean up. However, Hayashi could not honestly say he felt no fear when he greeted who had come to the door. The branch family members who had let them in were obviously fooled by the genjutsu, but Hayashi had trained his Byakugan to near mastery. He brought his hands together to dispel the illusion surrounding the four nondescript jounin which stood before them. Nothing happened. Hayashi's eyes widened and he tried again, using even more churka than before. Finally, the illusion was dispelled and he almost had to sit down. Gathered in his foyer were the two Uchiha traders and Uzumaki Naruto. Add that to the fact that Hinata was also in their company and Hayashi had one strange reunion on his hands. He did the only thing he could think of. Small talk. Hinata. It is good to see you again, my daughter. I trust the mission went well and that Naruto protected you well. Hayashi said with Hinata nodded, puzzled as why her father was acting so strangely, but when she noticed Naruto nodding grimly, Hinata glared at her boyfriend. Naruto, what exactly is going on? Hinata, you know that your family was responsible for the massacre of the Uzumaki clan, correct? Naruto said monotonously. Hinata nodded, and Naruto continued, a small grin appearing on his face. Well, Hayashi knows this too, but he was against the whole thing. However, there was nothing he could do about it as he could not stand against all the elders on his own, despite his prowess. Then Naruto assumed the most feral, demonic expression any of his friends had ever seen. When he spoke, his voice resonated with sheer evil. So this time, I'm going to help him. Come, Hinata-chan, I have a few questions for these elders. Naruto crouched down briefly, then stood up suddenly, arms extended outwards. Reiwa was. He roared, flaring every last bit of chakra in his body so that the room shook with the force of his power. Itachi and Sasuke's hair flew backwards, but they held their ground. I need to train more, was the common thought amongst the Uchiha brothers. Hinata had to brace herself against the storm. Naruto-kun, she whispered. Naruto formed 3 seals slowly and deliberately, ram, ox, and finally, dragon. As he did so, red chakra began to form around his body, waving and twisting menacingly. He turned around and motioned for the rest of them to follow and, without checking to see if they did, he stalked out of the small entryway and down the hallway into the main courtyard. Itachi, Sasuke, Hayashi, and Hinata hurried to follow their blonde companion, and when they all reached the courtyard, a slightly comical sight greeted them. Every single member of the Hyuga household had gathered in the square grassy area. Naruto briefly noticed Tsunade and Shizen hiding in a powerful cloaking genjutsu, but he dismissed them. When the Hyuga realized that the source of the power was here, and just who it was, The reaction was immediate. Every member of the family pressed up against the walls of the courtyard as if preparing to watch a fight. Every member except 5 old men standing calmly in the center of the courtyard. The middle one looked Naruto in the eye, asking him calmly, "And what gives you the right to barge into our house with such intent to kill?" Naruto grinned, and without any warning the red chakra disappeared. Only Itachi and Sasuke, who had their Dojutsu active, could see that it was returned to Naruto's chakra system. To Hinata, it had dissipated. "Why, I'm just here to talk. I'm told the Yondaime Hokage did that often with his good friend here. Is that so wrong?" questioned Naruto innocently. The head elder glared briefly. "No, no, it isn't," he bowed. "My name is Yataru of the Hyuga clan." "What did you wish to talk about?" he asked politely. Naruto grinned. "I'd like to talk about the Uchiha massacre, if at all possible. It's all pretty fuzzy to me, and in case you haven't noticed, my friends, Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke would also like to learn about the Uchiha massacre." At that statement, every Hyuga save for the 5 elders vacated the open-air room, leaving them alone. Yutaru sneered. "Why should we tell these traitors what they already know? Is that not the reason that Itachi left the village? Is that not why Sasuke left the village? They know what happened." Yutaru shouted. "Now leave my home or dash, methinks he doth protest too much," Hinata interrupted. "If they do in fact know, why are you so upset? Let us drop these facades, you sniveling pile of pig snot. Everyone in this room knows the truth of the Uchiha massacre and the Uzumaki massacre. The Hyuga orchestrated everything. They sold the Uzumaki to the Kyubi and double-crossed the Uchiha, all so that they would be the only powerful clan of Konoha." Hinata finished, yelling. She stepped to the side so that she was right next to Naruto. "Surely you cannot be so bold as to speak such accusations in my house dash, you had no right." Naruto shouted suddenly. "What right did you have to kill my entire family whom I will never meet? What right did you have to kill Sasuke's entire clan, tearing from him the love and support of his family? And for what? Power? You should have known better, Yutaru Baka. The Hyuga messed up. They left witnesses. And survivors. And now you are going to die for what you have done." Everyone stared. No one moved. A sob escaped Hinata as she gazed upon the pain and anger etched into Naruto's face. Itachi and Sasuke prepared themselves. "Sasuke, do you know why we fight today?" Itachi asked his younger brother. Sasuke nodded. "For justice," he answered calmly. "And for Naruto." Itachi nodded in approval. Naruto grinned suddenly. "When you get to hell, look up and say hello to my dad, you son of a bitch," he offered. Naruto exploded with raw chakra, and in the same instant disappeared, only to reappear directly in front of Yutaru, who was sweating. "Any last words?" Naruto asked innocently, claws poised at the Hyuga's throat. Yutaru was about to answer when a voice cried out suddenly. "Naruto-kun!" Hinata yelled. All movement stopped yet again, and Naruto turned to look at the girl who had changed his life. He remembered who she was and where he was. He noticed her tears, and his heart broke. "Naruto-kun, don't do this. Don't become a murderer." Hinata wailed. "Don't get lost in your power. This isn't right. This isn't the Naruto-kun I fell in love with years ago, and it isn't the Naruto-kun I love now," she cried. Naruto became even more still. "She said she loves me?" Hinata looked into his eyes. "Please?" she asked quietly. The power receded. "Hinata-chan paf." His words caught in his throat as Yutaru plunged his palm into Naruto's back, chakra spiking his heart. Blood gurgled in Naruto's throat, and he fell forward silently. It seemed to his companions that he took an eternity to fall, and when he landed he made no sound, though the dust rose around his form from the impact of his muscular body. Yataru grinned triumphantly. And the Uzumaki are finally dead. A good thing, too. It seems our heir had taken a liking to him. Yataru jumped when a poof went off in the courtyard, and he nearly wet himself when he saw the Godame Hokage standing on the grass, tears on her face and rage in her eyes. Hokage-sama, what are you doing here? I assure you, I can explain. He was interrupted by yet another poof. Yataru followed the sound and was shocked to see that the smoke surrounded the spot where Naruto had fallen. When the smoke cleared, he was gone. This time, there was no smoke to accompany the arrival. This time, Yataru really did soil his robe when he saw Naruto standing in front of him calmly. You know, my dad single-handedly turned the tide of the Leaf Rock War with the Hiroshin no Jutsu. Fitting that I used the technique here, the first time it saved your life, and you repaid my father by making my life hell. This time, it ruined your life, and now your life will be a living hell. Naruto stated. You're rather unlucky. Hinata-chan stopped me from tearing out your throat, because I guarantee in a few days, you'll wish I did. Tsunade-ba-chan, if you'll do the honors? Naruto asked indifferently. Tsunade wiped the shock from her face with a death glare. Hyuga Yataru et al., you are charged and convicted with the murder of the Uchiha clan, the murder of the Uzumaki clan, and the attempted murder of Uzumaki Naruto. You are sentenced to life in the shinobi prison, no parole. Tsunade snapped her fingers, and 12 umbu poofed into the courtyard. Remove this taint from the Hyuga compound. She turned to Hayashi. I apologize for the inconvenience, but you're going to have to find some new bookkeepers or whatever these elders did. Hayashi bowed, and when he was upright, Tsunade swore he was grinning. Hi, Hokage-sama. It will be my pleasure. Tsunade turned to Sasuke and Itachi. You two, see me in my office. You need to be reinstated as ninja, and I have to tell you where you will be living. Sasuke and Itachi nodded and followed their Hokage out. Sasuke glanced over his shoulder at Naruto, but before their eyes could meet he was outside. Hinata realized that the courtyard was deserted. She approached Naruto tentatively. Naruto-kun, she asked softly. Are you okay? Naruto looked at her, and her heart melted at the sadness in his eyes. Without a word, her motherly instincts took over, and suddenly Naruto was in her arms and he was sobbing ferociously into her shoulder, and she was whispering in his ear. After a few minutes, Naruto's tears dried and he laughed helplessly. I told myself I would never cry out of sadness again. Hinata pushed him away so that she could look into his eyes. You're only human, Naruto-kun. It's okay to cry. Proof that we had a creator is that he gave us tears for our sadness. Naruto nodded, smiling. Then he frowned. Actually, you're wrong, Hinata-chan. I'm not just human. I'm a half-demon. Hinata's eyes widened. The Kyubi's merging? Naruto nodded again. I'll understand if you don't want to omit. He was cut off by soft lips pressing against his. When they pulled away, he shook his head. I don't know what I did to deserve you, Hinata-chan. She giggled. Well, I could say the same, but Naruto shook his head. You said you loved me? He asked quietly. Hinata pressed close to him and kissed his cheek. Yes, I do, Naruto-kun. Now more so than ever. So don't even think about going away, she said playfully. Naruto smiled softly. I love you too much to do that to you. He kissed her again, and she melted into him. It seemed that, finally, things were looking up for a long time. Many miles away, in a deep network of caverns, caves, and tunnels, a man watched two disembodied hands. 10 rings glowed softly. 4 rings went out. The man got up from his seat and looked at their kanji. So Orochimaru is dead, but so are Sasori and Deidara, he said softly in a voice full of power. But Itachi, he looked at the ring more closely. Itachi is still alive. The leader of the organization known as Akatsuki returned to his chair and his thinking. Always thinking, always planning, always plotting. Alive. But it doesn't matter, the leader said to himself. And he planned for the strife to come. Hinata pulled away from Naruto slightly. Feeling Naruto rest his chin on her forehead, she sighed. We should return to the Hokage's office, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded. Yeah. Besides, we need to get paid. I'm running low on ramen. Hinata laughed. I doubt that. Let's go. Meanwhile, Sasuke sat before the most buxom woman he had ever seen. She looked vaguely familiar, but before today he could have sworn he had never seen her. So, she began suddenly. I suppose your idea of thanking me for healing you those years ago was to betray Konoha and side with Orochimaru? Sasuke sighed. Hokage-sama, what I did was wrong. Very wrong. I acted out of jealousy and hatred and a lust for power. Though I see now that I was not myself when I had the cursed seal, since Naruto removed it. Wait a minute, Naruto removed your cursed seal? Tsunade interrupted. Show me your left shoulder. Sasuke complied, sliding off the end of his white gi to reveal plain skin, with no trace of the mark of Orochimaru. Tsunade examined it, even placed a hand engulfed in green churka on the site, but could detect no trace of the taint of Orochimaru. I can't believe that boy. Anyways, so what were you expecting when you returned to Konoha? Tsunade continued. Sasuke bowed his head. I expect to be brought to justice. The thought of death does not frighten me now that I know the truth of my brother. Sasuke looked to Itachi and winked. And now that there's another Uchiha, there's another chance to rebuild the clan. Itachi grinned. Sasuke remained somber as Tsunade looked at him, almost appraisingly. Then she laughed. Huh? Kill you? Kill a genin trained by one of the legendary Sannin? I don't think so. Tsunade stood up. Death is the easy way out, and in fact Konoha doesn't have a death sentence. So you will not be killed. You will be reinstated as a genin. You will take a test of my choosing, and if you pass you will become a jounin. If you become a jounin you will become the 5th member of Naruto's team. Itachi! She shouted suddenly. He rose to attention. Hi, Hokage-sama. Tsunade smiled gently. Welcome home. Your jounin status has been reinstated. There is an opening, by the way, on the ANBU squads. Would you like to take it? Itachi thought for a moment, then shook his head. Hokage-sama, I would not. I am tired of the life of an ANBU. However, if you have a genin team that needs a jounin leader? Tsunade grinned evilly. You know, I have just the one. Meet me in my office at 8 a.m. sharp tomorrow morning. Itachi nodded. Oh, and one more thing, he asked. Where shall my brother and I be lodged? Tsunade grinned once again. Your timing is impeccable, Gaki. Get in here, this affects you as well. Itachi's eyes widened as Naruto fell from his hiding place in the ceiling. Hinata preferred more conventional methods and used the door. Itachi and Sasuke, I am lodging you in the Uzumaki clan residency effective immediately. Basic needs have already been purchased for you and brought there. Your bank accounts have flourished in your absences, so you will be able to purchase additional supplies. Naruto leapt in the air. Woohoo! This is awesome. I'm gonna have, like, a little family. Yeah. Without even thinking, Sasuke bopped Naruto on the top of his spiky blonde head. Baka, he said amusedly. Naruto yelped, rubbing his head, then stared at Sasuke in amazement. Sasuke shifted uncomfortably under his gaze. What? The Uchiha said awkwardly. Naruto smiled. Nothing, Sasuke. Nothing at all. Sasuke returned the smile, and Tsunade decided she needed a drink. Alright, all of you out of my office now. Itachi, take you and your brother to Busho's weapon shop and trade in those pathetic excuses for swords. Naruto, wait a minute. There's something we need to discuss. Itachi glared. I made these blades myself, he reminded Tsunade. Busho could smith circles around you, Itachi. Sasuke, that sword is inherently evil. Give it to Busho to play with for a day or two and you'll be surprised with the results. Sasuke bowed, and he and Itachi left. Hinata, please leave. This conversation, for now, is for Naruto alone, Tsunade said firmly. Head home to your family. I'll come by later tonight, okay? Naruto asked. Hinata answered by way of a peck on the cheek and left. When the door shut, Naruto turned around to face a very serious Hokage. This simply wouldn't stand for Naruto. So what's the deal, Bachan? Naruto asked cheekily. Sit down, brat, Tsunade replied without so much as batting an eye. Naruto sat, all trace of humor gone from his visage. So, you have accomplished what you set out to do and fulfilled on of your promises. Sasuke has returned to Konoha, and we have you to thank for it, Tsunade said, as though relaying a prepared speech. Naruto nodded. So what now? I mean, with the threat from Orochimaru gone and a serious blow dealt to Akatsuki, what remains? How are Konoha's relations with the other villages? Tsunade grinned. Well, we are on neutral terms with the Rock, though they have yet to find out that you are the Yondame's son. They'll probably be a little miffed at that, but I'm not too worried. The Mist's Kage has sent a formal letter of thanks to Team 7 for eliminating Zabuza as a threat, and we are on good relations with them. Grass has forgiven us for killing so many of their genin in previous Chunin exams, and Cloud has sent formal apology for the attempted abduction of Hyuga Hinata and their murder of Hyuga Hayashi's brother. Naruto nodded. And what about Sand? How's Gaara doing? Tsunade's grin became wider. The Kazekage wishes that Uzumaki Naruto be informed that he is well. When Gaara became the Kazekage way out. Gaara is the Kazekage? Naruto interrupted. Tsunade nodded. Hi, and one of the most respected ninja in Suna. Achoo. Gaara sneezed. When he had recovered, he frowned, and the people around him edged away slightly. They loved their Kazekage, but no one in their right mind wanted to stand next to a frowning Gaara. I've never sneezed before. Never. Gaara thought. What the hell? Naruto leaned back in his chair, processing this new information. I see you finally got them to respect you, Gaara, Naruto thought. Which brings us to your next mission. Akatsuki won't be active for a while, and as you've probably guessed, the villages are in general accord with one another. However, Suna has come to us with a problem, one that is directly related to you, Naruto. Obviously, as you know, Gaara is the Jinchuriki for the one-tailed raccoon demon Shikaku. Akatsuki is not discriminate in their desire to acquire the demons, and Suna has become aware that Gaara is on their hit list. They have no interest in losing their Kazekage again, and have asked Konoha to send someone to Suna who can, and I quote, help us prepare to defend against the Akatsuki. Tsunade leaned back and allowed Naruto to catch up. He surprised her. You want to send me and possibly my team to Suna to prepare their defenses against Akatsuki, Naruto stated confidently. Tsunade smiled. You've grown, Naruto. Yes, that is what I was going to ask you. This is not a mission, so you do not have to accept. However, if you do accept, I have some news for you which you will not hear unless you accept. The bait was set, and Naruto was hungry. My team and I accept the mission, Naruto confirmed. So spill it. What's the news? Naruto howled excitedly, all trace of propriety gone. Tsunade grinned. I want you to do my paperwork. Naruto face vaulted, literally. Bachan, you're kidding, right? Tsunade grinned even wider. Nope. She got up from behind the desk and stood behind the chair. Sit down, brat. Grumbling, Naruto sat himself down. In front of him was the usual mountain of paperwork, but directly in front of him was a single packet of papers. Naruto could not contain his curiosity, and read it. It was a mission report from a team of Chunin describing their encounter with a camp of bandits. So what do you think, Naruto? I've been puzzling over that one for a while now, Tsunade remarked offhandedly, though truthfully she was dying to know what Naruto would say. It seems that the Chunin wiped out the bandit camp as per their orders, but I don't think they got all of them. I think that camp was just one of many in a network of camps. The evidence of scrolls and other writing implements they found in the tent suggests that they were reporting or at least corresponding with someone. The trick is to find out who and where. I recommend giving this one to the Inuzuka to sniff out, Naruto finished thoughtfully. Tsunade stared at the tall blonde sitting in what was most likely to be his chair someday. Naruto, that's perfect. Genma, she shouted. The Senbon chewing jounin dropped down from the ceiling. How do they do that? Naruto wondered. Get Inuzuka Kiba and his sister for me ASAP. Genma nodded and poofed away. Tsunade turned to Naruto, who had already set aside the mission report and was looking at the local farmer's report. When Tsunade noticed him writing something on another paper, she almost killed him. Naruto, what are you doing? She howled. Simply telling the farmers that they should be grateful we are stopping the local bandits and criminals from stealing their crops, burning their barns, and raping their daughters. As such, a small tax such as the one they currently pay should be no problem for them, Naruto said seriously. Tsunade stared at him again. Naruto, get your team to Suna. We'll discuss this when you get back. Naruto rose and nodded, somewhat puzzled by the triumphant tone in her voice. Shrugging, he formed the ram seal and shunshined away. The destination he had in mind was the Hyuga residence. So it was with trepidation that when he poofed into existence that he noticed he was in a bathroom. It was immaculate, with polished porcelain bathtub and sink. Niji and I-san, if Naruto comes by could you tell him I will be with him in a few minutes? He heard a female voice call as it approached the bathroom. When he heard the reply, he wished he hadn't been so stupid. Hi, Hinata-sama, Niji called back. Naruto stared at the doorknob, fearing the worst. It jiggled. Naruto panicked. Now, Naruto is not stupid, as he deftly proved otherwise in the Hokage's office. However, hormones and love can cause people to do very stupid things. Naruto flung a kunai at the door. It landed with a loud thunk. Niji and I-san, Ota-san. Intruder in the bathroom. Naruto heard Hinata yell. Oh shit. He thought. You're screwed, kid. Good luck getting out of this one, Kyubi said gleefully. Naruto growled, and was about to make a seal with his Sharingan when the door slammed open. Before Hinata could see him, Naruto jumped to the ceiling and hit himself with two kanji seals, one for invisibility, the other for masking one's chakra signature. Hinata leapt into the room, and Naruto would have fainted from relief when he saw that Hinata had clothed herself in a towel had he not been hanging from the ceiling. Hinata had her Byakugan activated and was scanning intently. Satisfied that she had scared whoever had intruded, she disengaged her bloodline. Naruto silently thanked Kami-sama for his luck, then used the Shunshin Jutsu to poof away. Hinata never heard a thing, and disaster was averted. Naruto collected his senses on the street outside the Hyuga compound. I think I'll go get Sasuke, Lee, and Sakura first, Naruto thought shakily. He walked the path to Sakura's house and knocked on the door. A woman with pink hair, presumably Sakura's mother, answered the door. Oh, hello Naruto-kun. I suppose you're looking for Sakura. She's out right now. She mentioned something about Sasuke's Jounin test at the training area, so I'm sure she's there right now. Thanks for stopping by, you should come more often. As the woman closed the door, Naruto stared in awe. That was amazing, I've never seen anyone say so much without breathing. As Naruto made his way to the training area, he was delighted to see Sasuke standing across from Tsunade. A few meters away stood Lee and Sakura. The tension was thick enough to cut with a dull kunai. Sakura! Tsunade was shouting. Come here. Sakura nodded and walked over to her mentor. Hi, Hokage-sama. Whipping out a kunai seemingly from nowhere, Tsunade grabbed one of Sakura's arms and twisted it in a hold, placing the kunai behind Sakura's head. Sasuke. Kill Lee or Sakura dies. Sasuke frowned. And when I kill Lee, assuming I can, you'll just let Sakura go? Hardly. No, the only thing I can do is attack you, and trust that Sakura will do what she can. Sasuke vanished, and Tsunade prepared for the attack. However, Sasuke surprised everyone when he reappeared right in front of Sakura and Tsunade. Bringing his leg a few inches up, Sasuke slammed his heel down on Tsunade's toes. The result was predictable and immediate. Yo! I'll kill you, you brat! Tsunade howled, wringing her foot out. In the confusion, Sakura was able to escape Tsunade's hold and stand next to Sasuke. When Tsunade recovered from her shock, she shook her head ruefully and chuckled. I'm getting to be as old as Sarutobi-sensei, it seems. Congratulations, Uchiha Sasuke. By showing your ability to think rationally about a situation and judge accordingly, and proving that you possess the ability to do what is necessary, I promote you from Genin to Jounin. You are appointed to Team Naruto, and will depart for Suna immediately to oversee their defenses against the Akatsuki. Tsunade said confidently. Sasuke nodded, a small smile on his otherwise impassive visage. Well, now that that's over with, let's go team. We're going to pick up Hinata-chan and head on out. The quicker we leave the quicker we come home, Naruto ordered. Sasuke and Lee nodded and hide, while Sakura simply shook her head. The journey to Suna was long and boring, covering the good part of a week. Naruto took this to be a sign that their mission would be, in fact, long and boring. Then Hinata had to step forward and catch Naruto before he face-planted in the sand after tripping over his own feet. Naruto-kun, what's the matter? Hinata asked worriedly. Naruto shook his head furiously and pointed towards the horizon. Sasuke, Hinata-chan, activate your Dijitsu now. Naruto yelled. Sasuke frowned. His Sharingan was already engaged. He peered towards the horizon, focusing his sight, and almost followed Naruto's lead and collapsed. The outer wall of Suna was a charred husk. Bodies lined the tiered wall of sand and blood was splashed all over the ground. Behind Naruto, Sakura vomited. This destruction, Lee wondered aloud. Did Akatsuki already get here? Naruto nodded. It's the only explanation, since Orochimaru's out of the picture. Proceed in line formation on full alert. Sasuke, get behind Hinata-chan and in front of Sakura. Sasuke nodded and acquiesced. As the team of Jounin approached the village, they noticed a large plume of sand rise into the sky. Gaara is fighting whoever Akatsuki sent to this desert. Double time. Naruto shouted, and they became blurs as they hurtled into the center of what could only be described as a large crater. Gaara, Naruto thought. Hang in there. As Naruto and his team leapt across the rooftops of Suna, they were greeted with an interesting sight. Gaara was standing on one particularly tall rooftop. His sand was flowing out of its gourd in a circle around him. He guided the chakra-filled sand with his hands, directing it to attack, parry, riposte, and generally be a nuisance to the black-cloaked man he was fighting. The Akatsuki member was a sight to behold. He wielded a large scythe with 3 blades on the pole and had decorated his face with strange markings. Every now and then Naruto's keen ears would pick up a shout of faith. As they approached the battle scene, Hinata drew level with Naruto. Naruto-kun, that Akatsuki's partner is standing over there, Hinata whispered, motioning with her head towards another building. Naruto nodded and gave the sign to halt. As his team gathered around the blonde shinobi, Naruto outlined his plan. Alright team, there are two Akatsuki S-class ninja here to deal with. I'm not asking that we kill them, only that we drive them away. They are probably under orders to preserve their lives at all costs due to the fact that recently we have eliminated 4 members of their organization, not counting Orochimaru who defected. So here's the plan. Sakura-chan and Lee, you two go help Gaara fight the dude who doesn't know what a scythe looks like. Hinata-chan and Sasuke, you're with me. We're gonna ferret out the scythe dude's partner. Split. And with that, they became blurs. Gaara dodged the scythe yet again, then had to jump as the thrust of the 3 blades became a horizontal slash. As he rose, he drew his hands in and thrust them towards the sky. Haydn jumped into the air, twisting to avoid the sand and slashing at what he couldn't dodge. As he returned to the ground, he attached a chain to the end of his scythe. Grinning wildly, he threw the 3-bladed death dealer at Gaara, who took the blow in the face before dissolving into sand. Growling, Haydn yanked on the chain forcefully, catching the pull as it flew past him. Gaara emerged from the sand of the building a few meters away from the Akatsuki. As he did so, he was joined by Sakura and Lee. Without any preamble, Sakura checked Gaara for wounds. "What are you doing?" Gaara asked monotonously. "I'm checking you for wounds, but you seem to be unharmed." "As usual," Sakura remarked dryly. Gaara nodded. "That little fact about me is now more important than ever. You see him there," he pointed to Haydn, who was watching the newcomers intently while licking his scythe blade. "His attack consists of a ritual. See that circle he's standing in? He's painted them all over the city. If he gets your blood on one of those blades, you will die. You either not get cut or keep him out of the circles," Gaara finished. Sakura stared. "How did you figure this out?" she asked incredulously. Lee muttered something about the fire of youth, glad that Gaara was not known for exceptional hearing. "I watched from my office the guards at the entrance to the village. I watched as the first was torn in 2 by his blade. Then he just reached out and nicked the other. The last guard jumped away, then suddenly his chest exploded. I assume the rest of the ANBU here got the same treatment unless they escaped." Gaara suddenly moved away from Sakura and Lee. They too leapt back as a scythe whistled between them, only to return to its master's hand once more. "Okay, that's enough. My lord demands sacrifices," Haydn shouted. "Time to die." He left his circle then, speeding towards Lee. "This fruit cup is the first to go." Haydn howled silently. He whipped the scythe over his head towards Lee. "Too fast," Haydn thought triumphantly. Wham! The scythe was stalked, but neither by flesh nor sand. Lee stood there calmly, the pole of the scythe caught and held fast in one hand. Haydn grinned triumphantly. "And now you die," he shouted, yanking on the scythe with the intent to cut his hand. Nothing happened. The scythe didn't move, and now Lee was grinning rather annoyingly. Haydn yanked again and cursed. "My guess is that you've trained extensively, almost exclusively with this scythe," Lee remarked conversationally. "I am sure you are very strong." However, and Lee dropped to the ground, shooting out a foot which collided with Haydn's kneecap. His leg fell away, but he was able to yank the scythe out of Lee's uncaring grip. "I too am strong." Lee grinned and settled into his Gukken stance. "So come, girly man." Sakura slapped a hand to her forehead. As powerful as Lee and his permanently open gates were, she just didn't see the wisdom in insulting who was mostly likely one of the most powerful ninja in the world. Meanwhile, Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata were running along a circular path which Naruto claimed would lead them straight to the other Akatsuki member. Then the other Akatsuki member found them. "I suppose you're looking for me?" a voice said tauntingly. Naruto halted in his flight and turned about sharply. He stared at the man who looked like some sort of monster stitched together from the corpses of other humans. His eyes glared evilly out from sunken sockets. "Ah, and you are?" Naruto asked in a mockingly playful tone. "Humph. Who I am is of no concern to oh, I see. Very well, I am Kakuzu. You are Uzumaki Naruto. My leader warned me that there was a chance you would be here." Kakuzu glanced in the direction of Haiden, who was now fighting Sakura, Lee, and Gaara ferociously. "You see, Naruto-san, I never liked my partner. Always blithering on about faith and redemption and punishment and all that bullshit. We fight too often to be productive, so the leader sent us here on a little mission. Before we left though, he told me that you might be here. And if you did come, I should leave with Haiden." Kakuzu grinned. Naruto shook his head. "You obviously are going to leave him to the mercy of Gaara, but why? Akatsuki only has, like, 5 members left." "4, when we kill this Haiden person," Naruto said, confused. Kakuzu, rather uncharacteristically, winked. Then he exploded. It would have been rather comical if the blast wasn't the equivalent of several exploding tags going off. The ensuing heat and force knocked Naruto across the village. "Naruto-kun!" Hinata shouted, hurtling after her boyfriend, who had slammed onto yet another rooftop. Sasuke also began to follow, but noticed something about the remains of Kakuzu. There was no evidence. In fact, the only thing the Akatsuki left behind was a small note. Sasuke stared at it, then approached it cautiously when his Sharingan told him there was no chakra on the paper. He picked it up, then paled. "This explosion brought to you courtesy of Deidara." Sasuke looked behind him at Naruto, who was rising groggily aided by Hinata. "What the hell is going on?" Sasuke wondered. Sasuke leapt across the sandy buildings to where Lee, Sakura, and Gaara had reached an impasse with Haiden. Neither wanted to move and risk the wrath of the other. "Damn that Kakuzu!" Haiden swore. "Where the $dollar is that bastard?" Lee shook his head. "You shouldn't use such language," he shouted. Haiden laughed. "Heh. Whatever. Oh look, here comes the precious Uchiha." Sasuke landed in front of them. "Take a break, Lee, Sakura. I'll finish him off." "No, you won't," Naruto said as he and Hinata landed beside Sasuke. Before anyone could react, Naruto punched a fist towards Haiden. "Huh. Too far away, you stupid OOF." Haiden began, though he was interrupted by the fearsome tail of chakra which erupted from Naruto's arm, slamming Haiden into the wall behind him. He grinned. "That didn't hurt at all," Haiden drawled, to which Naruto only grinned evilly. "I know, you claim to be immortal, but let's see how you feel when I carve up your body into bite-sized chunks, and then mash your head into a tiny pulp. Or, better yet, I can have my friend here go into your head and destroy your mind." Naruto laughed. "Or you can tell me what I need to know." Haiden glared at the blonde. "Not a chance." He tried to leap up and swing his overly large scythe at Naruto, who sighed. "Wrong answer," he said as 8 more tails of chakra exploded out of him and wrapped around Haiden, who began to curse fluently. "What the hell? What the hell is this shit?" he yelled uselessly. "Kyubi," Naruto answered. "Now, let me tell you something, I don't like you. In fact, I hate Akatsuki so much that it is taking every ounce of discipline and training that I have to keep myself from killing you now. However, I need information, and I know that despite how powerful you claim to be, no one on Earth has ever stood up to an interrogation session with Marino Ibiki." Haiden grinned. "Up yours, brat. Tell me, are you even done puberty yet?" "Kakuzu is gone. Not dead, gone. In fact, he was never here. He just exploded, and rather magnificently I must say. However, he left a note, or rather someone left a note saying that he was a clone from Deidara." "Explain now." Hayden stared at Naruto, then craned his neck to look at where Kakuzu was supposed to be. Not seeing his partner, Hayden returned his gaze to Naruto. This goes against everything Akatsuki stands for, but ARRGH. Naruto ducked yet again as another explosion rocked Suna. People were starting to come out of their homes, thinking the show was over, when it began to rain. Naruto grimaced. That's disgusting. Behind him, Hinata stared as a piece of flesh landed on her arm. She retched. Naruto stared, focusing his always activated Sharingan on the cloak where Hayden had once stood. Amazed that the cloak was still intact, Naruto detected a few stray strands of chakra. Bending closer to examine, and ignoring the protests of his friends to step away from the volatile sight, Naruto picked up the cloak. As he did so, he heard a soft thump on the sand beneath his feet. Tossing the cloak aside, he saw a small ring. He grinned. Finally, a lead, he muttered. But as he bent down to pick it up, it began to glow ominously. He jumped back as a hologram sprang to life from the ring. A shadowy figure with reddish eyes gazed out from under a mop of what appeared to be brown hair. A cloak with cloud designs framed his small figure. Uzumaki Naruto, a voice rasped. So good to finally meet you. A shame I can't say the same, Naruto remarked. That was you that just killed Hayden, wasn't it? Yes, though his consciousness probably still exists. However, with his body separated into very small pieces, it cannot affect the living world any longer. So yes, I killed Hayden. Surely you know I cannot have members of my organization simply spouting out information, now can I? I have it bad enough with that perverted Sannin running around and sticking his bloody nose in my business. Naruto stared. Something was off about this man. Who are you? Ah, the man exclaimed. I can't let you know that yet. Suffice to say, I am the leader of the organization known as Akatsuki. You are now responsible for the elimination of 5 of my members, one of whom I believe is now returned to your village. Naruto glared. Yes, though I only killed Orochimaru. Sasori and Deidara got themselves killed by the snake bastard. Or so I thought. What the hell was with the exploding clay human? The most powerful man in the world laughed. Oh, you liked it? Well, as you may have guessed, one of my many specialties is making clones of those who wear the ring of Akatsuki. As the leader said this, the ring that was creating the projection rose into the air and began to spin. However, I am sad to say this conversation must be continued another time, for I have urgent business to attend to. So I leave you with this parting gift, some information. The remaining 4 members and I have already absorbed a bijou. Our mission in that sense is complete, and now we have only one goal. What the hell are you doing? Naruto exploded. Who do you think you are to treat the Jinchuriki like trash? What are you planning? Until next time, Uzumaki Naruto, the leader said as he and Ring alike disappeared. Naruto stood motionless, staring at the air where the man who had orchestrated most of his trouble over the past few years stood. Gaara moved to stand next to him. Thank you for your assistance, Naruto. Naruto nodded mutely and turned to face his team. Sakura and Hinata looked upon him with concern, while Sasuke and Lee were speaking with 2 sand ninja who had come to see what all the fun was about. All 4 of them looked exhausted but were trying desperately not to show it. Naruto turned to Gaara once again. Kazekage-sama, would you lodge us for the night? My team is reaching their limit after the trip here and then combat. Gaara chuckled softly, earning a surprised look from Naruto. Of course, what else could I say? You saved my life, and you think I would deny you shelter? Come on, I'll show you where you'll be staying. Naruto grinned and clapped a hand to Gaara's shoulder. You've changed, haven't you? Gaara let a small smile crack his mask. Understatement of the day goes to Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto mock glared. Whatever. Remind me to fight you before my team and I leave. Gaara nodded, and Naruto motioned to his team. Hinata ran up and linked her arm with Naruto's, and together they all followed the shadow of sand to his mansion, though Naruto was interested in Gaara's change in demeanor from the last time they had met. When they arrived at Gaara's mansion, Kankuro stood in the middle of the Kazekage's office, panting heavily. "Gaara," he exclaimed when he saw that his brother had returned from the fight. "Rest easy, Kankuro," Gaara replied. "With the help of Naruto's team I was able to defeat the Akatsuki member. However, this is hardly a victory, as we have discovered that their leader and the remaining members have already absorbed Bijou into their chakra system, meaning that they are even more powerful than before. However, I think I have a solution." Naruto perked up at this, disentangling himself from Hinata to stand directly in front of Gaara. "What? What is it?" Naruto asked, hopping from one foot to the other. Gaara gave him an odd look before continuing. "Think, Baka. If Akatsuki have 5 Bijou, and we have 2, then Naruto added 2 and got 4. Then he proceeded to perform other complicated mental mathematics until he yelped, "That means there are still 2 of us left." Gaara nodded. "Correct. Though this means Akatsuki actually has 2 goals, though perhaps the leader didn't consider it too important. We need to find the remaining 2 Jinchuriki and bring them to Konoha where wait a minute. Why can't they stay in Sunigakure? They'd be safer in a remote location," Kankuro reasoned. "Don't let your pride distort your judgment, brother," Gaara reminded. "Remember, Konoha is now home to the 2 remaining legendary Sannin, one of whom is an expert on Akatsuki. Also, their apprentices, Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke," Gaara went on, pointing to the former members of Team 7, "are Konoha Nin. Furthermore, Naruto, if he so desired, could destroy this village and everyone in it, including myself, in the span of 3 heartbeats. Now, where is safest?" Gaara finished with a smug smile. Naruto's mouth dropped open. "Gaara, you know that's not the point, Naruto," Gaara replied, reassuming his stoic visage. "You and I both know that Konoha is the safest haven against Akatsuki and, as Kazekage, I must put the safety of a ninja above the pride of my village. If you ever intend to become Hokage, Naruto, remember that." Naruto nodded. "Thank you for your confidence, Gaara-sama. My team and I will return to Konoha at once. Upon our return, we will immediately organize a mission to find the remaining 2 Jinchuriki." Sasuke stared at Naruto and nudged Sakura with an elbow, who in turn faced him. "When did Naruto change like this? It's almost like he's a completely different person," Sasuke whispered. Sakura glared at him. "He changed while you were gone, Sasuke. He became the ninja he always wanted to be, and has earned the respect of the village of Konoha, something you have lost," Sakura whispered back. Sasuke frowned, returning his stare to Naruto, who was now bowing to the Kazekage, though he returned his gaze to the ceiling when Naruto turned around once more. "Let's go home," he said simply. As they left Gaara's office, Naruto pulled Hinata back. She spun around and faced him, wondering. Naruto smiled gently. "You know, from here on out we'll be dealing with shinobi far more powerful than anything we've ever faced." Hinata nodded, understanding flooding her awareness. "And you want to tell me that if something should happen to you, I should continue living my life and keep striving to be happy? Is that it, oh boyfriend of mine?" Naruto was shocked. Yes." He shut his eyes as Hinata's hand went for his face, then opened them a crack when he felt no force. Instead, he felt her soft palms place themselves over his whisker marks. "Naruto, my life would never be the same without you in it. That's why I'm going to protect you no matter what. And that's a promise. And you better help me keep it." She finished, waving a mock-threatening finger in Naruto's face. Naruto grinned, captured the finger in one hand, and before she could react, kissed Hinata deeply. Before she could even think, he pulled away, grinning once more. "Come on, we're gonna make them wonder," Naruto said, pulling the now dazed Hinata along. Gaara watched from his window as Naruto's team departed from Suna. He turned away as a knock sounded at his door. Baki, Jounin of the Sand, entered. Gaara-sama, we have the locations of the remaining Jinchuriki, he stated, saluting. Send the information to Konoha immediately, Gaara replied. Hi, Gaara-sama, Baki nodded, and activated the Shunshin Jutsu, poofing away. Gaara sighed as he sat down at his desk. And may Kami-sama help us all. After several days of hard traveling, Naruto and his team arrived at the gates of Konoha where they were welcomed by a sight that Sasuke would never forget. Uchiha Itachi, possessor of the Manjiki Sharingan, master of Taijutsu, Genjutsu, and Ninjutsu, was shaking his head helplessly as a team of genin were harassing the gate watchers. You two have no idea of my power. I will be the 7th Hokage, a familiar voice shouted. Konohamaru? Naruto thought excitedly. Itachi removed his hand from his vest to let it fidget with his new Jounin vest. Why the 7th Hokage? Don't you mean the 6th? Konohamaru turned around and grinned at his sensei. Nope. The 6th Hokage will be Naruto. Itachi smiled as Naruto burst into laughter. Then, he got an idea. Hey, Konohamaru, catch! Naruto shouted, and before Hinata could stop him or Sakura could smite him dead, Naruto threw a kunai at his old friend. Without even looking in his direction, Konohamaru caught the kunai between 2 fingers. Ha! Nice try, boss, but hey, what's with this kunai? The young Sarutobi asked, confused. The kunai Naruto threw was long, with 2 extra points flanking the main tip, a scroll seemingly wrapped around the extra long handle. Itachi's eyes widened. Naruto, you didn't dash, but before anyone would react, Naruto was standing next to Konohamaru, fist driving down into his head. Noogie! Naruto yelled delightedly. Konohamaru yelped and tried to jump away, laughing. Itachi stared in disbelief. Naruto just used the Yandame's trademark jutsu, Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique. Naruto just became the new Yellow Flash. Naruto just used the most powerful jutsu in the world to give a genin a noogie. As these thoughts ran through Itachi's head, Sasuke stepped forward. Naruto, when did you learn that technique? It's faster than I could see, though I can see clearly in Shunshin, Naruto laughed. Only an Uzumaki can learn that technique. Hinata was puzzled though. Naruto-kun, why didn't you use the Sharingan? Naruto chuckled, but it was cut short as he began to cough. He fell forward but was caught by Konohamaru. Boss, he yelled. See Hinata, all power comes at a cost, Naruto explained. I'm about to pay mine, I was wondering when this was going to happen. When I absorbed the Kyubi, my chakra coils really weren't ready for it, despite their accelerated growth by the Yondame seal. So all the chakra I've been using has really been on loan from the Kyubi. He actually is not gone, and I've been borrowing his massive chakra coils to store his chakra. Now, Naruto coughed some more and Hinata, who had now crouched by his side, combed her hand through his hair soothingly. Naruto closed his eyes in bliss, then continued. What this means is that my chakra coils are ready to absorb the Kyubi. This will take a huge strain on my body, and I probably won't be conscious for a few days. Sasuke, Naruto said suddenly, eyes widening. What do you need me to do? Sasuke replied immediately. Take care of Hinata-chan and Sakura for me, would you? I have a feeling this will last longer than I want it to. With those words, Naruto slumped in Konohamaru's arms, his katana Mikai's sheath digging painfully into his stomach. Naruto Kun! Hinata yelled, taking the blonde from Konohamaru. Sakura, can you run a diagnostic on him? Sakura's hands were already glowing green and she placed them on Naruto's head, moving downwards as she scanned his body. After she reached his feet, she stood up, brushing her hands off. Naruto's fine, as usual. He's in a coma, though, and his chakra coils are working like mad to absorb all that chakra. He'll be fine in a few days, so let's get him to Tsunade Shirsho's mansion. I'm sure she'll want to keep him under close observation in case the Kyubi tries anything funny. Hinata nodded and picked up her boyfriend bridal style, giggling softly at the irony now that the danger had passed. Sakura followed, with Lee in tow. Sasuke made to follow, but Itachi stopped him. How was your mission? Itachi asked awkwardly. Sasuke went rigid. Fine, I guess. We killed one of your old friends, so Sasuke trailed off, a sense of awkwardness overwhelming him. Itachi nodded in understanding. Well, once I finish up with these brats, why don't we get some lunch together? I have a feeling we'll have a lot to talk about. Sasuke nodded, but otherwise made no reply. Itachi went on, encouraged somewhat. Meet me at Ichiraku's at midday? INF, Sasuke replied, nodding again and turning to catch up with his friends. Teammates, he reminded himself sadly. I don't have the right to call them friends again yet, if ever again. Naruto found himself once again in the prison of Kyubi within himself. He made his way through the familiar corridors, wondering what the great demon lord had in store for him this time. As he approached the cage of the nine-tailed fox, he realized that the pair of evil red eyes were no longer staring out at him. Oi, Kyubi! Naruto yelled. Where the hell are you? Here, a voice whispered right behind him. Naruto jumped forward, howling, spinning around to see who it was. Standing before Naruto, and outside his cage, was a smaller, more normal fox-sized Kyubi. Naruto stared for a moment. Don't ask, Kyubi warned. I can explain. Sit, Kit. This will take a while. Naruto complied uneasily, not wanting to sit in the puddle of kami-knows-what that usually coated the cage floor when he realized that he was sitting on cold, yet undeniably dry, stone. Good. Now pay attention, because after this little conversation you will wake up and I will no longer exist, Kyubi continued. Now dash, whoa. What was that? You won't exist anymore? Naruto asked worriedly. Despite the nature of the Kyubi, Naruto realized that he had come to depend on the demon as one of the few constants in his shinobi life. The Kyubi nodded. Yes, Naruto. I will no longer exist. That means it falls to me as the Lord of Demons to explain to you the conflict that threatens to destroy the life you know. Naruto made it as clear as he could that he was paying very close attention. As you know, there are nine-tailed demons. They are essentially, as you do not know, large masses of chakra with very special abilities. When the mortal world became aware of their existence, humans attempted to harness their power as their own. For the most part they were surprisingly successful, discounting the fact that the early Jinchuriki either died early deaths or went insane and were controlled by their bijou. Eventually the method of sealing bijou within infants improved, and Jinchuriki survived long enough to be useful to their shinobi village. Naruto looked puzzled, so Kyubi answered the predictable question. You and I were a special case. Your father, Erasure the Yondaime Hokage, sealed me within you using a never-before-seen seal thanks to that Sharingan of yours, landing me in the situation we have now. You are, for the most part, normal. Most of your suffering was not a direct result of me being sealed within you, but rather because of the misunderstanding of your pathetic villagers. I still don't understand why you haven't razed the place to the ground. Gaara was right when he said you could. Naruto glared at Kyubi, who just laughed. Anyways, you now know that the 5 remaining members of Akatsuki are now Jinchuriki, though I know for a fact that they have yet to realize the special powers of each of their bijou. This is because when a bijou is sealed within an adult, the advantage lies in the complete control of the bijou's chakra, while the disadvantage is a longer wait to discover the bijou's power. Naruto nodded. So for now, Akatsuki is once again waiting. Kyubi shook its head, tails twitching. Yes and no. While they are waiting to enact their plan, whatever it is, they will use this time wisely. How many Jinchuriki are left besides you and Gaara? Naruto's eyes widened, Sharingan gleaming. Only 2. And we, I guess, the remaining Jinchuriki, are already at a disadvantage. If Akatsuki kills the last 2 inch, their victory will be assured, Kyubi finished grimly. I don't know what you are thinking, Naruto, but you need to find those Jinchuriki. Fortunately for you, I know where they are. Naruto almost jumped to his feet with excitement. Where? Where are they? He shouted. Kyubi growled, diminishing Naruto's excitement. Don't get so excited. One has been hiding in the wave country, so you won't have any trouble getting there. They love you, if I recall correctly. However, the other one is hiding in the village of Rock. Naruto looked puzzled, then paled as white as a ghost. Oh, shit. The Shinobi War. And my father was. Oh, shit. Naruto swore angrily. That's gonna be one bitch of a mission. Kyubi eyed Naruto, amused by his words. Just when you think you have the boy figured out, Kyubi thought. Returning his attention to his task at hand, Kyubi nodded. Yes, that mission will be difficult, though infiltration and searching will not be difficult. The real trick will be convincing them to return to Konoha with you, especially concerning the one from Rock. Naruto nodded. Then, Kyubi, when will I wake up? Kyubi tried to laugh, though it came out as a throaty growl. In a few days. Your village will be fine, though. Konoha has some pretty powerful ninja, even I see that. I have to admit, I miss the days when a shinobi was only as good as his taijutsu and his wits. Life was a lot simpler then. Now chakra manipulation is all the rage, even that Rock Lee fellow uses it to a degree beyond the ancient taijutsu specialist. Anyways, let me wrap this up. I can feel my essence draining away like water through a strainer. Ouch, Naruto commented softly. Kyubi waved a paw. It's not so bad. But listen, you will retain my abilities, so those tails of chakra will stay. However, all power comes with a price, as you will discover for yourself. Naruto's eyes widened once again. Kyubi, what's going to happen to my body? Kyubi shook his head, impressed again. I must be going soft, he thought. Aloud, he said, you're getting smarted, Naruto. Unfortunately, I can't tell you because I don't know what will happen. The change could be anywhere from more pronounced whisker marks to full-blown half-demon form. Naruto appeared shocked for a minute, then nodded in acceptance. Kyubi, you are the lord of all demons and the master of destruction. Also, you are indirectly the source of an 11-year living hell. Still, I can't find it in me to hate you. Naruto wanted to continue, but Kyubi forestalled him with an upright paw. I know what you're going to say. I don't know what it is about you, Naruto, but everyone you meet ends up liking you in some way. This includes me. You have a capacity for destruction that may one day rival me, and yet beyond that you are so generous and compassionate that even I am bewildered. Your village doesn't deserve you as their Hokage, Kyubi finished. Naruto stared, awed. That was extremely uncharacteristic, he replied. I hate to see you like this. Quick, before you run out of time. Try to kill me or something. The Kyubi did laugh at that, his guffaws booming off the stone walls. Naruto wondered how a fox laughed. Naruto, I've lived far longer than you could ever count. Faced with inevitable finality, I cannot deny what I see and know to be true. So my comments stand. Remember, wave and rock. Go as soon as you wake up, and don't bring anyone if you can help it. Sasuke maybe, but anyone else will be a burden and you know it. When Naruto nodded, Kyubi grinned ferally. And now I take my leave. Least I don't have to hear you whine anymore. Goodbye, kid. Naruto opened his eyes to a strangely familiar sight. This is the hospital room I was sent to after the battle at the Valley of the End. He recognized vaguely. That was a long time ago. Naruto took that moment to reflect on how far he had come in the years that had passed, from a genin with a death wish to a powerful jounin with virtually limitless chakra and special powers to boot. I miss the days when a shinobi was only as good as his taijutsu and his wits. Life was a lot simpler then. Naruto thought on those words for a while, realizing how true they were. Great plots of war and death, powers unknown and terrifying to behold. Naruto truly wondered whether there would ever be a return to such simplicity while humans, himself included, wielded such power. A voice murmured softly, forcing Naruto to fully take in his surroundings. As in the undeniable fact that Hinata had face-planted into his hospital bed in a sleep-deprived stupor. Henceforth a terrible battle was waged within Naruto. He imagined two clones arguing, one in full Kyubi mode, the other as a little Naruto. Come on, let's play a prank on her. Kyubi Naruto said happily. Ah, that'd be mean. Hinata-chan wouldn't like it, and she'd be mad at us and upset. We don't want to make Hinata-chan upset. Child Naruto replied. But we haven't played a prank in ages. Kyubi Naruto howled. I want to play a prank. I won't let you. Believe it. Child Naruto yelled back. Kyubi Naruto snorted. That was stupid. Believe it. Are you serious? How lame. They disappeared from Naruto's mind's eye as their fight kicked up a cloud of dust. Naruto decided that he shouldn't upset his girlfriend, and so he tapped her gently on the shoulder. Hey, Hinata-chan, hey. Wake up, sleepyhead. Naruto said playfully as he shook her gently. Murmum Narukuen? Hinata said sleepily. She leaned back into her chair and rubbed her eyes, focusing on her first and only love. Naruto watched as her eyes widened. Faster than Naruto thought she could move, Hinata kicked herself from her chair, whipping out two kunai and prepping them for launch. What did you do with Naruto-kun? Be a Kugen. She screamed, activating her Kekai Genkai. Whoa! Hinata-chan, what's going on? It's me, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto protested, making no move to defend himself. Hinata lowered her kunai hesitantly. Your chakra signature looks the same. What is the name of the proctor for your first test in the Chunin exam you took? Naruto laughed. I have no idea, but I remember I sat next to you. You offered to let me cheat, but I declined out of honor and pride. I passed without writing down anything, remember? Hinata nodded, and put her kunai away. However, she made no move towards the bed. Naruto noticed her hesitation immediately. Hinata-chan, what's wrong? Naruto asked anxiously. Wordlessly, Hinata pointed to the mirror next to her without taking her eyes off her boyfriend. Naruto got up shakily and stood in front of the mirror. Oh, Kami-sama, he breathed. Tsunade-bachan's gonna have a cow when she sees this. Naruto stared at the mirror, slowly comprehending just what had happened to him as he absorbed the Kyubi. It was bad. It was really bad. Damn, Naruto muttered, twitching his new fox ears and sending his new ponytail of red-black hair to swaying. He reached around behind, sighing with audible relief as he felt no tail. He held up his new claws which were protruding from his fingers and flexed them experimentally, then slashed at the mirror. So fine were their edges that the mirror did not shatter, but instead was gouged with 4 lines. Naruto turned to Hinata and realized that she was extremely terrified. Hinata-chan, if you don't want to be around me anymore, I'll understand, Naruto said sadly. I don't think OOF. He was cut off in mid-sentence as Hinata impacted with his chest. He caught a muffled "no." That seemed as if Hinata had simply said it. Since her face was buried in his clothes, Naruto guessed the actual volume could have been heard by everyone in the village. Naruto, I don't care what you look like. Sure, it was a little scary at first, but as long as you're still you, Hinata trailed off, then kissed him fiercely. After a few moments she pulled away, blushing. Well, you get the idea, she finished lamely. Naruto grinned and enveloped her in a full-body hug. When they separated, Naruto felt like he had to sneeze. And so he did. Asisho. he bellowed powerfully. Hinata covered her ears. Tsunade, who was running down the hospital hallways with Shizune and Sakura in tow after hearing Hinata's scream earlier, stopped dead in her tracks, horrified. Tsunade Shursho, what's wrong? Sakura asked. Nothing, we'd better hurry, Tsunade replied quickly, continuing down the hall and violently. The poor door was slammed against the wall so hard it cracked slightly, into Naruto's room. Before her stood the same Naruto she had left earlier in the day, save for enhanced whisker markings and a reddish highlight to his otherwise normally blonde hair. Naruto, I expected a little more in the changing department, Tsunade said awkwardly. But this is definitely preferable. Hinata opened her eyes to look at Naruto in amazement. Where were his fox ears or his claws or his outrageously sexy red-black hair? Hinata caught that last thought and blushed furiously, which did not go unnoticed by Sakura. Hinata, did you help him hide anything? Sakura asked playfully. Hinata shook her head, reverting somewhat to her old self. Naruto decided to save his girlfriend from further embarrassment. Sakura-chan, Tsunade-ba-chan, what happened while I was under? Oh, and how long was I out? Tsunade sighed. Naruto, sit down. This is going to hit pretty hard, I think. Naruto went over and sat down on his bed and was accompanied by Hinata. So what's been going on? He asked more seriously. Tsunade sighed. Well, nothing happened the first day you were under. Sasuke and Itachi have been spending more time together, so that's good. However, yesterday afternoon a report flew in from Grass Country. She trailed off, searching for the words. Naruto's eyes, which were his normal shade of cerulean, narrowed. What was in that report? Tsunade sighed. Grass Country has been attacked and overwhelmed by hundreds of ninja, quote, wearing black cloaks with red clouds on them. You'd think after all this trouble with the Bijou abductions people would realize that it's Akatsuki. But how on earth did they manage to get so many members? Naruto interrupted. It's just not possible. Tsunade shook her head. The ninja of Grass evacuated their civilians and the majority of their ninja forces and are heading towards Fire Country. They have applied for refuge from the Fire Lord, but that reply is not forthcoming yet. If he agrees, he'll most likely send them here. But anyways, one line in the report mentioned that all the ninjas seemed to look alike. Many of them had either blonde hair in a ponytail, or were wielding enormous two-handed swords that shaved ninja in two. Naruto's eyes widened. Kisame and Deidara. But they were both killed. How can this be possible for there to be multiples? He cut himself off abruptly, thinking and remembering. One of my many specialties is making clones of those who wear the ring of Akatsuki. Oh, no, Naruto breathed, clutching Hinata's hand. Tsunade, we have a huge problem. And what's that? Tsunade replied sharply. We have enough of those with Akatsuki on the move, and trying to figure out the source of all their men. Naruto shook his head. That's the problem. When we were fighting Akatsuki in Suna, the leader appeared in some sort of fuzzy projection. He told me that his specialty lies in making clones of anyone who wears the Akatsuki ring. Tsunade frowned, then almost fainted. Only years of a shinobi lifestyle stopped that. So you're saying that, Naruto nodded. We can only hope that he can't anymore because of the interference of a Biju's chakra, but yeah, Kami-sama knows how many clones he has created. Tsunade shook her head in exasperation. Normally I would create a mission for the assassination of their leader, but we have no idea where he or Akatsuki are, and Jiraiya hasn't returned from his scouting mission yet. Naruto grinned, activating his Sharingan. I think I can help with that. Before Kyubi left, he told me that the only way to fight Akatsuki was to get the remaining Jinchuriki to Konoha and ally them to our fight, he said, spitting out the word Jinchuriki as if it were poison. Sakura nodded thoughtfully. That's a pretty good idea, and it seems to me like the only lead we've got going right now. However, we have no idea where they are. Naruto grinned again, but let it fade as he caught Tsunade staring at his eyes intently. Hey Bachan, what's the matter? Enraptured with my good looks? Naruto, deactivate and then reactivate your Sharingan, she commanded. Naruto shrugged and complied, eliciting several gasps. What? What's going on? He asked worriedly. Naruto, your Sakura trailed off. Your Sharingan is red now. Do you see anything different? Hinata said bluntly. Naruto looked around the room, noticing that everything seemed sharper, as if in a higher resolution. Yeah, it's easier to see chakra now. Cool, he said boyishly. Hinata giggled. I'm sure that's not the only change, but do you know what this means? Tsunade asked him sharply, staring intently at his now red Sharingan. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I'll explain it to the team when we're on the road. Tsunade nodded. Naruto, what were you grinning about earlier? Do you know where the last of your friends are? She asked hopefully. Naruto nodded. Kyubi sensed them, but never told me 'cause I didn't need to know. One of them is in the country of waves, so going there won't be a problem. Yeah. We can go see Tazuna and Inari-kun again. Sakura exulted. Booyah. Inner Sakura contributed happily. And the second? Tsunade pressed. Naruto immediately sobered up. After a long pause, the second is in Rock Country, he said solemnly. Sakura and Hinata were immediately frightened as both Naruto and the esteemed Hokage seemed ready to explode with rage. Hokage-sama, why is this bad? Hinata asked timidly. Because, as you should know, the Rock Country was home to the ninja village with whom Konoha was engaged within the Great Shinobi War. Rock Ninja killed my little brother and my lover. But Naruto's father, the Yondaime Hokage, essentially won that war for us by using the Hiraishin no Jutsu in critical battles, hence the nickname the Yellow Flash. I can't even begin to count how many Rock Ninja fell to Arashi-sama, Tsunade finished with no small amount of satisfaction. Then, Naruto proved he was his age, 17. Tsunade, no matter how many people die, Den and Nawaki will not come back, he said wisely. That course will only bring suffering. Tsunade sighed. I know. Now, let's get down to business. Naruto, I want you and a 3-man team to go to Wave Country to locate and retrieve your friend there and bring him or her to Konoha. Hi, he replied. Sakura-chan, Hinata-chan, let's go find Sasuke team. We'll need his eyes, he said as he headed for the door. Sakura and Hinata hid in response and made to follow. Naruto, wait here one moment. Sakura and Hinata find Sasuke and meet Naruto by the south gate in 10 minutes, ready to journey to Wave Country. Tsunade ordered. Naruto, come here. Naruto returned to the bed. I hate hospitals, he muttered grumpily. Tsunade frowned. I know. But this needs to be said. Naruto looked up, wondering what could be so serious. Naruto, I've gave it a lot of thought, and you have no idea how difficult this decision was, because believe it or not there are more than a couple candidates for Hokage in this village, Tsunade began, her frown changing slowly into a smile as Naruto began to catch on. Naruto held his breath, stunned, as she continued. Naruto, I hereby declare you the Rokudaime Hokage. Naruto sat rock still for a moment, not daring to believe it. Shakily, he stopped all chakra flow to his brain and body, then expelled chakra forcefully in the method Jiraiya taught him for breaking genjutsu. In a rush of wind he attempted to dispel something, leaving Tsunade more than a little flustered. Naruto, what the hell was that all about? Tsunade asked, amused. Naruto shook his head. This is a genjutsu or something, isn't it? It's a terrible joke, he shouted. Tsunade smiled and shook her head. Nope. No genjutsu, no jokes. I got the council to agree to your appointment if, and I quote, he is successful in eliminating the threat Akatsuki poses to the village. Since there won't be any Konoha left if you fail, I figured that was okay, Tsunade said happily. Naruto sat staring at the floor, shocked beyond all reason. I'm gonna be Hokage, he breathed. He looked Tsunade in the eye. I'm gonna be Hokage, he asked hopefully. In response, Tsunade enveloped him in a hug, unsurprised by the wetness that accumulated on her shoulder. Yeah, Naruto. You're gonna be Hokage. Congratulations, she whispered softly, feeling Naruto smile fiercely into her shoulder. She wiped a tear of her own away as she chuckled. Guess that necklace isn't so unlucky anymore, she thought as she felt it press into her stomach. They separated, and Tsunade kissed him on the forehead. Get your gear, kid. You've still got work to do, she ordered, suddenly becoming official-like. Naruto saluted smartly. OSU, he shouted, smiling broadly. Then, like a whirlwind, he was dressed, equipped, and out the door, Makai's sheath banging on the frame as he left. Tsunade smiled and walked to the door to watch the boy who had become like a brother, no, like a son to her, run down the hospital hallway, jumping and skipping every now and then to the amusement of the hospital staff. You deserve it, kiddo. More than anyone else in this beautiful village. More than me, more than Sarutobi-sensei, Grandpa, or his friend. Tsunade caught herself. Well, maybe Erasure deserved it as much as you did. Damn good ninja, damn good leader. She thought about it come more. Damn, he was hot, she thought, lost in thoughts of the great man. Naruto ran through the streets of Konoha. Everyone he passed had a hello or a how you doin' to toss to him with a smile, and he waved back as he hurtled toward South Gate, though there was no way they could have known about the appointment. I've done it, he thought, bewildered. I earned their respect. I earned their recognition. With a howl of happiness he leapt into the air, jumping 10 feet straight up without chakra, an incredible feat for anyone, and landed only to do it again, yelling one word over and over again to the amusement, and very slight annoyance, of the village. Yatta. Meanwhile, Sakura, Hinata, and Sasuke waited by the south gate. Hinata and Sakura chatted amiably, while Sasuke stared north, watching for the dobe. When he groaned loudly, for Sasuke, Sakura looked up to the north as well. Oh good, here comes Naruto, Sakura observed. And come he did, not stopping until he enveloped Sakura in a bone-crushing hug, which lasted until he ran over to Sasuke to do the same. Get off me, dobe, Sasuke muttered, muffled by Naruto's body. He did, only to sweep Hinata off her feet and scorch her with a kiss that made her head swoon with dizziness until he put her down. Naruto, what's gotten into you? Sakura shouted, bopping him on the head. However, unlike previous beatings, Naruto did not fall over but instead grinned and shouted, I'm gonna be the Hokage. Now, normal civilians who haven't had shinobi training not have understood that, but Sasuke, Hinata, and Sakura were all ninja. Thus, they were struck dumb by Naruto's clear and concise announcement. Naruto, what did you just say? Sakura asked, for clarification. Naruto grinned so wide he thought his face would split. I'm gonna be the Rokudaime Hokage, by order of Tsunade Bachan and the eventual approval of the Council of Elders of Konoha, he recited happily. He looked at his friends expectantly. Sakura began to tear up. Naruto, that's amazing. Congratulations, she shouted, launching herself at him to hug him. He went over backwards, laughing hysterically until he felt two more bodies collide with his and Sakura's, eliciting oomphs. Naruto, that's so wonderful. I'm so happy for you. Hinata cried, giving him a big kiss on the cheek. But what made Naruto happiest of all was when it was said quietly, way to go, Naruto. You've earned it. You really have, Sasuke said, unable to keep the happiness and approval out of his voice. To Naruto, it was as if nothing had happened, as if they were all genin again and just having a good time because the world was all fine and well. Then, as if to add to the feeling of nostalgia, a poof was heard. The teammates separated and stood up expectantly. Yo, Kakashi said nonchalantly. I heard the news, so I thought I'd stop by and wish Naruto congratulations. Naruto grinned as Kakashi ruffled Naruto's blonde red hair, even though Naruto was only a couple inches shorter than his old sensei. Thanks, Kakashi. Any other reason to stop by? Naruto asked jokingly. Kakashi huffed. Can't an old teacher visit his students? Sakura, Sasuke, he added, nodding in greeting to each of them. And Hinata, too. Hinata giggled. Kakashi looked around at all of them. Actually, I was on my way on a mission. I've been assigned to scout out the hidden village of Rock for you guys. Naruto frowned. If there was a rank higher than S-class, that's what that mission would be for you. Kakashi, what if they recognize you as the son of the White Fang of Konoha or worse, as the great copy ninja Kakashi? Kakashi waved it away. Naruto, I've been going on missions like these for years. Did you think I had nothing to do while you were with Jiraiya-sama training? I'll be fine, though I must admit I'll be glad when the mission's over. Speaking of which, I'd better get going. Say hi to Tazuna and Inari-kun for me. Ja. And he poofed away. He must have been a very interesting sensei, Hinata offered as they left the south gate. You have no idea, the three former members of Team 7 replied simultaneously, causing them all to laugh at the camaraderie of it all. Naruto smiled widely as he led his team down the familiar path towards Wave Country. This is the way it should be, he thought contentedly. And then a hail of kunai flew out of the forest. Naruto whipped out 3 quick seals, shouting, Futon, barrier no jutsu, and watched the forest intently, searching for the ninja who had ambushed them as his wind shield scattered the kunai to the ground. Sakura, Sasuke, go on ahead and cut off any escape, then head back here to help Hinata and I. Hinata, you know what to do. Hinata nodded, as Sakura and Sasuke raced off, and shouted, Byakugan. Instantly she picked out 2 chakra signatures, and after scanning the forest, shouted, Sakura, Sasuke, there are only 2 of them. Come back. Naruto's eyes widened at the implications. It can't be, he thought in disbelief as the ninja revealed themselves just as Sakura and Sasuke returned. When they saw who was coming out of the forest, Sakura snarled in anger and Sasuke and fed, but glared at the 2 strangely dressed ninja. The demon brothers of the Mist Dam, but this is like deja vu all over again, Naruto said grimly, cracking his knuckles. Hinata, Sakura, Sasuke, stand back. I've got a bone to pick with these 2. Sasuke watched as Naruto settled into a taijutsu stance, the red glow of his Sharingan casting an ominous light in the forest. These guys are finished, he thought smugly. I don't have time to play with you guys, Naruto complained, and he disappeared, reappearing behind the brothers' backs and planting a kunai in each of their necks. The water clones splooshed out of existence. And neither do we, the brothers chorused back. We're on a mission that doesn't concern you or Konoha. But we must kill you for your insolence years ago. The brothers continued, pointing at Sasuke. Naruto grinned. Well, if you insist, and he stepped aside, motioning for Sasuke to fight the demon brothers. Sasuke grinned, Sharingan meeting Sharingan, red eye to red eye. Then Sasuke moved so quickly that Naruto was surprised by the ferocity of the attack. In a split second Sasuke was behind the demon brothers, Kusanagi sliding out of its sheath for an IAI attack. The brother closest to the blade raised his metal gauntlet to block the blade, then grabbed it with the claws on his other hand, capturing it. Got you, the other brother hissed as he thrust a kunai at Sasuke's head. Sasuke groaned as yet another opponent believed that his hands were permanently attached to the handle of his katana, yet with the simple motion of releasing his grip, the sword was free of his hands. He stopped the kunai between 2 fingers, stealing all the strength from the charge. Simultaneously he brought his right knee into the stomach of the one holding his sword, and he doubled over. Not missing a step, Sasuke extended his leg and, in a show of strength, launched the first brother into the other who, to his credit, avoided the human missile as it crashed into a tree instead. Kyuso, he yelled as his previously airborne brother slumped to the ground, his head twisted at an odd angle. The remaining brother glared at Sasuke hatefully, brandishing his metal-covered hands. Sasuke chuckled. That was a lucky break, he said nonchalantly. The brother became enraged. I'll kill you, he snarled and jumped at Sasuke, only to impale himself on Makai, wielded by Naruto as he grimly slipped the unfortunate shinobi from the blade, wiped it clean on his pants, and replaced it in its sheath. I wasn't kidding when I said we didn't have time, Naruto said lightly. Though that was some pretty efficient fighting, Sasuke. Kind of anticlimactic though, you know. Revenge for past crimes, yada yada, Naruto caught himself as he noticed the look in Sasuke's red eyes, as if he would explode. Hehe, Sasuke chuckled, to Naruto's surprise. I guess you're right. But we are shinobi, that fight lasted longer than it should have. Sakura made a stutter. What the hell does that mean? She yelled, indignant at the fact that she had no idea what Sasuke was talking about. Naruto turned to her to explain, but Hinata beat him to it. Sakura, shinobi are killers. Konoha is probably the exception to the rule of shinobi being emotionless tools, but we should be more efficient than that. I learned that when I was mastering Juken, no fight between a Hyuga and a skilled opponent should last more than a few minutes for, while your opponent is skilled and likely a shinobi, we are still shinobi too, and that means we must fight efficiently and quickly. Dispatch your opponent with swiftness and victory will always be yours, Hinata recited. It's one of the only things my father said to me when I was young that has stayed with me. Naruto nodded, impressed. Nicely said, Hinata-chan. Now come on, we've spent enough time here. And with that, the squad moved out. The journey seemed longer to Naruto than last time, but that might have been because of the lack of action on the way. This time there was no Zabuza to harass them on the way. Naruto, when are we going to take the boat over? Sakura asked as they walked through the forest. Sakura, I can't believe you of all people have forgotten our mission to Wave Country years ago, Sasuke remarked. Remember the bridge they built to the mainland? Why wouldn't we just walk across that? Sakura blushed. Oh yeah, geez, what a klutz I am, she trailed off as the bridge came into view. It looked the same as it did all those years ago, with one change. The Great Naruto Bridge, Sakura read, disbelief filling every word. Sasuke simply shook his head, wondering just when he had fallen behind his refound friend. Naruto stared at the sign with awe. Impossible Tazuna seriously named the bridge after me? He stared at the sign some more, then shook his head. Nah, it must be a joke or something. Come on everyone, let's go find Tazuna. Hinata giggled. The sign was made of ornate rock and metal, meaning that it must carry some importance. Naruto must be embarrassed that his other teammates weren't recognized somehow, she mused. Sakura just stared at Naruto. The fact that he had matured had never been more plain. You really will be a great Hokage, Naruto, Sakura thought wistfully. Sasuke walked alongside Naruto. You deserve it, you know, the Uchiha said suddenly. What? Naruto replied, curious. Sasuke smiled and looked to the horizon. When we fought Haku and Zabuza, you really did carry the day, Sasuke said softly, though Naruto could hear every word. From your opening shuriken to the distraction you made in the ice prison, Sasuke turned and looked Naruto in the eye, red meeting red once again. The bridge was baptized in your blood, Naruto. It has a good name. Naruto smiled and bowed his head. Thanks, Sasuke, he mumbled, and if Sasuke didn't know any better he could have sworn his Sharingan caught sight of something shiny falling from Naruto's eyes. Naruto, me boy. What in the hells brings you back to our little village? A boisterous voice called out. And Sakura and Sasuke too. Damn, if it isn't good to see y'all again. The former members of Team 7 stared. The little village was in fact close in size to Konoha. Their mouths fell open as they silently compared it to the wave village they remembered. Buildings clustered everywhere in a somewhat organized chaos. People laughed and chattered in the streets, and merchants and customers haggled boisterously, and a smiling old man wearing a straw hat was walking up to them. "Geez, old man Tazuna, but you sure got this place off the ground," Naruto shouted happily. Tazuna shot him a mock glare, still smiling. "That's Mayor Tazuna, brat. Y'all have grown, but I'm still taller than ya." "Well geez, where are my manners?" "My name is Mayor Tazuna, young lady," the grizzled bridge builder said as he bowed to Hinata. Hinata returned it with a curtsy. "I am Hyuga Hinata, Tazuna-sama." "You are most gracious. My boyfriend could learn a thing or two from you," she said teasingly. Tazuna laughed. That he could, that he could." Tazuna howled jovially, causing Naruto to glare and Sakura to laugh. Sasuke kept his mind focused, however. "Tazuna-sama, it is good to see you well, but we have urgent business here in Wave. Could we go somewhere where we can speak in private?" Sasuke asked politely. Tazuna nodded. "Come to my office. We can discuss matters there without being overheard." As they sat at a large oak table Naruto took in the bridge builder he and Team 7 had once been hired to protect. He looked exactly the same, save for a few gray hairs around the ears. He also seemed slimmer, more muscular. Naruto approved. "So, old man Tazuna, you seem to be keeping well," Naruto said happily. Tazuna nodded. "Yes. The village has prospered, thanks in no small part to you three. Though I have to admit, you've been causing me some trouble." And Tazuna pointed an accusing finger at Naruto, a gleam in his eye. "Me?" Naruto asked innocently. "Tazuna, I've done a lot of things, but I don't recall having anything to do with Dash." Suddenly, the door to the office burst open and a young man hustled in, saying something over Tazuna's protests at being interrupted. "Tazuna-sama, they won't go away. I've tried everything, but they simply won't leave." "Isn't there anything you can do?" the man said, obviously flustered. Tazuna sighed. "Yes. We're going to hand him over for now." "Naruto," he said, so authoritatively that Naruto stood to attention without realizing it. "The lot of you, come with me. This should be funny," he said as he led a confused team of ninja out to the hallway and down the stairs to where they entered the town hall. "Naruto, this is what I'm talking about," Tazuna said gravely as he opened the door and shoved him out. "Oh Kami-sama, it's him. It's Naruto," the girl closest to him screamed. Naruto paled. Gathered outside the town hall were women. Hundreds of them. It was as if the entire female population of Wave had come to the town square. Ranging in age from 7 to 77, the girls clamored and waved at him incessantly until he panicked and shoved Tazuna aside in an effort to retreat. Tazuna shut the door behind him and led them back upstairs. When they returned to the safety of Tazuna's office, Sakura burst into laughter, while Sasuke allowed himself a quiet chuckle. Hinata was furious. "Naruto, just what in the world did you do when you came here?" she yelled. Tazuna laughed. "Nothing at all, Hinata-san. Please sit down and don't kill your boyfriend. Men like him are hard to come by. Naruto has become somewhat of a celebrity figure, and it's been surprisingly hard to keep the general public focused on the growth of Wave. They keep wanting Naruto to come back, and the women all seem to want to propose marriage, and Kami-sama knows what else, to him," Tazuna explained. Hinata's fury vanished like a gust of wind. A moment of silence ensued. "Hell hath no fury," Naruto mumbled. Then aloud, "Tazuna, I'll get straight to the point. We're searching for someone reported to be in the area. Do you know of any extraordinary people ninjas, even, living around here?" "You mean Jinchuriki?" Tazno replied bluntly. Sakura gasped. "Yeah, I know who you are looking for," Tazuna said after a while. "And I have to ask, why?" Naruto nodded. War's coming, Tazuna. Has a large white-haired pervert told you about Akatsuki yet? When Tazuna nodded, Naruto went on, ignoring incredulous looks from Sakura and Hinata and an interested one from Sasuke. They're on the move. The remaining members all have demons inside of them, and the only things keeping them from attacking something are the remaining Bijou and the fact that they don't have full control of their powers yet. Tazuna nodded, apparently thinking it over. Finally, he said, "Fine. I'll tell you where you can find the demon carrier, but don't get the idea that I have anything to do with it. It resists human contact. No one, not even I, has actually seen it. But it lives in a cave in the middle of the forest 10 kilometers to the east of here. I can't tell you exactly where, but if you head in that direction it'll know you're coming and probably come out and meet you. I don't know its story though, so please be careful," Tazuna cautioned as the shinobi stood up. "Boy, hold up a sec," he added as Naruto moved to leave, a dark look on his face. "What?" Naruto said curtly as his team gave him his privacy. Tazuna sighed. "Look, Naruto, I'm sorry I had to treat the Jinchuriki who lives here like that," Tazuna said bluntly. "The young ninja asked me to keep his secret one day and in fact asked me to treat him like trash to hide the truth. So I apologize," Tazuna finished. Naruto nodded and grinned. "I understand," he said, relieved. "Thank you, Tazuna. I wish we could stay and tour the city, but time really isn't on our side," Naruto said as Tazuna led him outside to his team. "Yeah, we'll be sure to come back and visit once this nasty business is taken care of," Sakura said happily. "I want to see Inari-kun again." Tazuna nodded and shooed them away. "Now, go," he said, laughing. Naruto led his team through the forest in the direction Tazuna had pointed them in. When they came to a small clearing, Naruto held up his hand in the halt sign and looked around at the small, convenient clearing in the trees. These things are way too convenient, he thought. Oh well. He shrugged and began to place chakra kanji on the trees. Hinata and Sasuke noticed this. "Naruto-kun, what are you doing?" Hinata asked curiously. Naruto grinned cheekily. "Don't want anyone to be able to get to us yet," he said conversationally, "so I'm setting up barrier seals around the clearing with the Sharingan." Sasuke nodded. "That ability you used on me to end our fight at Orochimaru's hideout?" "Yeah, but I don't use it so often because of the concentration and chakra it requires. Even with my improved chakra control, I still use a ton of chakra for the writing. Despite my massive reserves, I can only write a few seals at a time before I get fatigued," Naruto explained. Sasuke nodded thoughtfully. However, as Naruto finished the last seal and prepared for the wave of tiredness, all he felt was a brief sense of emptiness which lasted about a minute or so. Then he literally felt his chakra replenishing. The ability of the Kyubi. Naruto howled. Sakura laughed. Naruto just figured out Kyubi's powers, she reasoned. Regeneration of both body and chakra, nay? She asked for confirmation. Naruto nodded happily, then deflated a bit. "I still can't throw seals around like one of those Western guns, though." "Oh well," he shrugged again. "Now for the fun part." Sasuke groaned. "And this consists of?" he asked irritatingly, ignoring Hinata's humph of disapproval at his lack of faith in their future Hokage. Naruto smiled his most fox-like grin, accented by his curiously pointed ears, which seemed to be returning. "This," he said, and he leaned over and kissed Hinata deeply for a moment before going to the middle of the clearing and taking a deep breath. And he flared his chakra, to the point at which 9 of the biggest tails Hinata had ever seen come out of Naruto exploded into the sky and waved about menacingly. Naruto roared into the sky, causing Sasuke, Sakura, and Hinata to cover their ears. After a while of waving about, Naruto withdrew his chakra into his body and exhaled the breath he had apparently been holding. He then assumed a thinking pose. "I didn't even have to convert my chakra into demon form," he said pensively. He whipped about suddenly, motioning the others to stand with him in the center. Someone's coming, he whispered. Hinata-chan, can you see them? Hinata nodded, silently activating her blood limit. A person with a massive amount of chakra is heading this way. They aren't gathering it or anything, so I think they're just coming to see what your little show was all about, she guessed. Naruto nodded as the sound of someone tree-hopping grew closer, then stopped. Whoever it is, they've had at least basic ninja training, he observed. Then the foliage in front of them shuffled, as it might in a horror movie when the monster jumps out and scares the pants off the heroes. Then it parted, and Naruto and Sasuke almost fainted with shock. Sakura actually did faint. Who are you? Hinata said warily, noting her friend's reactions. My name is Haku, said the ninja. It is good to see you again, Naruto-kun, Sasuke-kun. Naruto looked at the ninja dumbly. Of all the strange things, he thought, of all the chakra and demonic powers and end-of-the-world madness, how in the hell is this happening? Haku smiled. It appears I have some explaining to do. Let me revive your pink-haired friend and I will tell you my story once more. Haku passed through the barrier as if it weren't there, much to Naruto's chagrin, and touched a hand bathed in baby blue light to Sakura's forehead. Sasuke started forward as if to stop the young shinobi, but Naruto shook his head. Sakura opened her eyes blearily and looked at Haku's big brown ones. Haku smiled. Am I in heaven? Sakura asked groggily. Nope. Haku said cheerfully. Sakura fainted again. Naruto led Haku back to their base camp in the woods in a daze, still not believing the images his Sharingan was sending him. The young ninja in front of him was indeed Haku, but the shinobi who once followed the rogue ninja Zabuza zealously was showing off an enormous chakra signature. Haku, I have 2 questions that need answering immediately, Naruto said urgently as he passed Sakura to Sasuke, who, for some reason Naruto wasn't quite ready to decipher, blushed mildly and began to try to revitalize their pink-haired comrade. Sure, Naruto-kun. Anything for you, Haku said seriously. Naruto nodded. Are you really a dude? Naruto asked bluntly, and Haku laughed. Now that I think about it, he did get manlier. Naruto thought. Of course. I know I was kind of feminine when we first met, but I cut my hair and got rid of those kimonos. The truth is, that was the only non-shinobi outfit Zabuza and I could find in the area, Haku said sheepishly. I didn't want to cut my hair for fear of anyone misinterpreting my preferences. Naruto nodded, smiling in a very strained manner. And my other question, what the hell is giving you that enormous chakra signature? Haku looked down. When that white-haired jounin that was with you on the bridge hit me with that lightning, I immediately lost consciousness. I thought for sure I was dead. Then, something very strange happened. I began to wake up which, given my condition, shouldn't have been possible. I was only awake for a few seconds, but I remember seeing something. Naruto nodded. What did you see? A large black form. I could only see half of the person, but I remember seeing one thing in particular, a red eye, Haku recalled. Did it have lines in the iris? Naruto asked, shocked. Haku nodded, albeit hesitantly. Yeah, I think so. After that, I woke up for good. I realized immediately that whoever that black figure was, he sealed something inside of me. To put it bluntly, I am the Jinchuriki of the six-tailed osprey, and my ability is incredible speed. Haku said lightly, though his eyes conveyed the weight of his burden. For this reason I distanced myself from the village and lived as well as I could using my skills as a shinobi. I also trained on the rogue ninja that were once in Gado's pay who, every now and then, would wander near the village to try their hand at a quick, illegal buck. Naruto nodded. The man who sealed the demon inside of you was the leader of Akatsuki, whose name we're not sure of yet. Though why he would do that, I have no idea. This happened years ago, before any members of Akatsuki were killed. Naruto trailed off thoughtfully. Their leader is why we're here, Sasuke said, who got up to stand next to Naruto. We are facing a force of ninja who are just like you and Naruto. We have already garnered the support of one other Jinchuriki, but we need your help and the help of another to fight them. Will you come to Konoha and fight with us? Sasuke asked. Naruto looked at Sasuke with something akin to approval and pride. Haku nodded. Of course. I have nowhere else to go, and I might as well stick with people I know, even though we all tried to kill each other at one point. No hard feelings though, right? Haku said, laughing. Naruto laughed with him, while Sasuke allowed himself a small grin. What the hell is going on? Sakura asked groggily as she sat up. Haku the Jinchuriki is on our side now, Sasuke tossed over his shoulder as he turned to face Sakura, placing an arm around Haku's shoulder. Oh, and he really is a guy. Hey. You must be Sakura. I never really got a chance to meet you, since I was too busy thrashing Sasuke, Haku said seriously. Don't even start that, Sasuke said sullenly as Sakura burst into laughter. Naruto laughed, seeing how Haku and Sasuke acted as though they knew each other for years. Stranger things have happened, he thought happily as he undid the seals in the forest, unaware of the red eye that watched over them. So this is Konoha. Haku said excitedly as they entered the city's gate facing waterfall country. Yeah, it's alright, replied Sasuke, earning a well-aimed punch from Naruto that had the Uchiha prodigy rubbing his shoulder. Come on, let's go to Tsunade-bachan's office. I want to go to find the other demon carrier as soon as possible, Naruto said determinedly. And so Team 7 with the addition of Hinata and Haku sped towards the Hokage mansion. Hey, we haven't really been introduced yet, since we were traveling so hard the past couple days. I'm Haku, Haku said in Hinata's general direction. Hinata giggled. I'm Hyuga Hinata. I'm also Naruto-kun's girlfriend, she said happily, causing Naruto to blush. Haku snapped his fingers in mock anger. Crap. I thought that when I saw you two kiss that it wasn't what I thought, but now I know I have no chance, he said, smiling at Hinata, who laughed. When they finally arrived at the Hokage's mansion, Naruto wasted no time and sprinted up the steps, ran inside to Tsunade's office, and slammed open the door. Before his Sharingan was the most pathetic sight he had ever seen. Tsunade, the Godame Hokage, was sitting in front of a desk that was bereft of paperwork. All that was on the desk was Tsunade's head, out of which emerged the sound of a broken woman sobbing at the horror of life and its inevitable culmination in death. Naruto walked slowly into the room, possible situations running through his head. The council revoked their decision, and I can't be Hokage. Or maybe, Naruto-kun, is that you? Tsunade said softly and clearly, causing Naruto to jump. Yes, he said cautiously. And Hinata-chan, Sasuke, and Sakura-chan are here too, along with Haku. Tsunade, what's happened? Tsunade picked her head up off the desk and looked from Sasuke to Sakura, then back to Naruto. Konoha is so lucky that the legendary Sannin, even Orochimaru, passed their knowledge on before, and Naruto's heart and breathing stopped when he saw the piece of paper that Tsunade's head was covering. It was in a code that every ninja in Konoha knew. This is Kakashi. I rendezvoused with Jiraiya-sama a few days ago, and we commenced to investigate the situation in the village of Rock in an effort to discern the location of the last Jinchuriki. Jiraiya's information on a viable entrance into the village was a trap though, and we were attacked by two members of Akatsuki, one woman and one man. The woman had what appeared to be a rose tied into long black hair, while the man was colored black and white with orangish eyes and a flytrap-like thing surrounding his body. Their jutsu and chakra were incredible. Godame-sama, though we both did everything within our power to escape with our lives, Jiraiya-sama was killed fighting the two Akatsuki in an effort to allow my escape. Before he died he gave me a scroll sealed with the blood of the Uzumaki clan, saying it should be presented to Naruto when it reached you. Tsunade, I'm so sorry. I will return to Konoha immediately after Naruto stopped reading, unable to continue. Hundreds of images began to flash through his head, memories pouring into his conscious mind like a torrent of water released from a dam. Memories of Jiraiya peeking into a bathhouse only to realize it was an all-male hut, Jiraiya teaching him how to dispel genjutsu, Jiraiya showing him all the capabilities of the Rasengan, Jiraiya's dead body on the ground, covered in his own blood and matting his ridiculously white hair, surrounded by his black-cloaked killers. It was too much. Naruto threw back his head and howled at the ceiling in rage, causing Sasuke and Sakura to leap back in shock while Hinata attempted to approach her boyfriend. But when she got too close, Naruto spun around with such a look of grief and sadness on his face that she found herself unable to move. "Naruto-kun," she whispered. Naruto turned back to Tsunade, who had resumed crying on the desk. He slowly walked to the desk, and with a measured kick, sent it flying into the wall, causing Tsunade to buck up suddenly and stand up. Her honey-brown eyes stared straight ahead into Naruto's chest, which became larger and larger until Tsunade realized that the young man whom she had come to see as her own son had enveloped her in a hug and was crying gently onto her shoulder, yet at the same time trying to comfort her. She began to sob even harder into Naruto's chest, unable to speak. Sasuke, Sakura, Haku, and Hinata looked on, though instead of feeling awkward they felt confusion. Sasuke spotted the paper lying on the floor and picked it up, holding it so that they could all see it. As they read it, they realized the seriousness of what had happened and bowed their heads in sadness, speechless. After all, what do you say when one of the constants in your life disappears forever? Kakashi arrived on the scene later in the day. As he stepped into the Hokage's office, he had to struggle with all his might to not cry at the scene before him. Naruto lay against one wall, Tsunade cradled in his arms. Hinata was by his side, wiping at his tear-stained face with a cloth, and Sasuke and Sakura stared at the letter Kakashi had sent ahead of him, as if it would suddenly change its words and refute what they had read. Kakashi bowed and let out a small ahem. Tsunade immediately leapt to her feet and stood facing Kakashi. Naruto too stood up groggily and accepted the embrace of Hinata. "Tsunade, I'm so dash," Kakashi began, but Tsunade cut him off. "Don't even think of saying you're sorry," she snapped. "I've known this day was coming for a long time. I'm not sure what makes me angrier, that Rock has now taken 3 people who were important to me, or that Jiraiya didn't send me a scroll too." Not even Naruto laughed at the unintended jibe/joke, though Kakashi did clear his throat again. Naruto, here is the scroll, by the way." "A blood release is required," the white-haired Jounin offered helplessly. Naruto nodded wordlessly and pocketed the scroll in his weapons pouch. "Tsunade-bachan, I want to leave for the village of Rock immediately," Naruto stated tiredly. "My original mission still stands, and I need to convince whoever is there to help us, be they Jinchuriki or not. The death of Jiraiya will not go unnoticed by anyone, seeing as how through his travels almost everyone knows of him." Tsunade nodded and sniffed. "Please don't destroy the village of Rock if you can help it, Naruto. It was Akatsuki, remember. And you don't want to go for vengeance, trust me on that one," Sasuke remarked. Naruto did chuckle at that. "Naruto-kun," Hinata whispered. Naruto turned to his girlfriend and gave her a hug. "I'll be okay, Hinata-chan. I mean, I'm not now and won't be for a while, but even Jiraiya joked about this every now and then. We are ninja, and he would come back from the dead and kill me if I spent too long moping around." Tsunade nodded, then smiled sadly. "Naruto, why are you still in Konoha?" "OSU," he replied, and signaled to his team to follow. Wordlessly, Sakura, Sasuke, and Hinata made to follow Naruto out, but Tsunade stopped them. "Wait," she said in the type of tone that is obeyed without question. The 3 of them plus Naruto pulled an about-face. "Only Naruto will go," she commanded. The room exploded. Literally. The windows in Tsunade's office blew outwards, only to be blown back into the room by the wind. Shards of glass flew about like a hailstorm of death, causing the shinobi to cover their faces while their bodies received numerous lacerations. When the dust settled, Tsunade was being stared down by four very angry ninja. She glared at them all. I will not tolerate insubordination at a time like this, she warned. You all better have well thought out reasons as to why Naruto shouldn't go alone. Kakashi, whose chakra flare had caused the explosion, slumped. Godame-sama is right, Naruto has to go alone. But I thought he was going to a country where he had many enemies. Why the hell is he going without backup? Sakura demanded loudly. Yeah, what the $? Inner Sakura demanded expletively. Because I'm not going to try and conquer the place. It will be strictly an espionage mission, and if I am discovered, no one can match me for speed with the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Naruto explained. Sakura slumped. Sasuke approached Naruto and pointed a finger in his face. You know what will happen if you don't come back, Sasuke said as a challenge. Naruto raised one eyebrow. And just what will happen, Sasuke-kun? Sasuke gave a rare grin. Sakura or I will have to become Hokage before you, he said triumphantly. Naruto blanched. Damn it, he swore. That was good. As he said so, he was spun around and slugged in the stomach, then pulled into a bone-crunching hug. Oh, yeah? You think that's bad? Do you have any idea what I'll do to you if you don't come back? Hinata yelled vehemently as the rest of the friends gathered backed against the wall. Naruto grinned sheepishly. Gomen, Hinata-chan. But you don't have to worry, I'm definitely coming back. What should I do? Haku chimed in, causing the rest of the room to jump. Haku-san, I almost forgot you were there, Tsunade said thoughtfully. Haku. It's good to see you, well, Kakashi stammered. Haku laughed. Don't worry about it, Haku said, staring into Kakashi's one visible eye. And that was that. Haku, go with Naruto. You're absolutely unknown in that area, and will probably be helpful in convincing the remaining demon carrier to help us, Tsunade said finally. And that's final. Now get out of my office before I throw you out of Konoha from this building. Kakashi, help me fix the desk. You three, escort Naruto to the gates, and then return to my office immediately. Tsunade took a breath. And for Kami-sama's sake, brat, come back. Naruto grinned. You can count on it. As Naruto, Haku, and the others left, Tsunade and Kakashi got the office situated. Tell me, Tsuanda said suddenly after a long silent spell of work. Kakashi was silent for a moment, knowing what she was asking. Are you sure? He said quietly. When he saw her nod, he began. Naruto turned to his friends as he prepared to leave Konoha yet again. I will come back in one piece, you guys. And that's a promise, he said exultantly. Hinata moved forward, and was surprised when Naruto wrapped her up in a hug and kissed her fiercely. There's no way I could stay away, he whispered to her. Even when Naruto was gone from sight from the gate, she was still blushing.